Sound check. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm very well. How are you?
Good. Ryan Goudie.
Yep.
Goudie pronounced it right, from Scotland. Where exactly in Scotland are you from?
So, do you know where Edinburgh is?
I did look it up on a map last night, so I didn't look like an idiot. North side of the UK?
Yeah, well, we're nowhere near Edinburgh, so it's fine. No, we're about maybe 50 minutes south towards the English border.
Okay.
So it takes maybe about 25, half an hour to drive to the English border. So
Okay, that's cool. There's two, from the research I kind of briefly did, there's two major cities, right?
Yeah.
It had a different name from what I kind of looked at.
So we've got a few cities. We've got Edinburgh, Glasgow are the two big ones, but you've also got like Dundee, Stirling, Perth, Aberdeen, Dunfermline, Inverness, which all are more smaller cities but have rich history just like the other two as well.
Mm-hmm. I can only imagine in Europe how much history is there. It's kind of everything's just migrated this way.
Aye, well, every corner you go to, you'll definitely find some either crisis or tragedy or something to celebrate has happened. So.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Sort of. I mean, for the history part, and it's the land of castles too, correct?
Yeah, definitely. We've got thousands. Yeah. If you drive from my house up to Edinburgh, you'll see at least 3.
No way. So we were talking because you're here for a wedding this past weekend, and we got into a conversation about geopolitics, which you're doing your dissertation in.
Yep.
You just finished that today. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I thought it would be interesting to talk a little bit about that, or a lot about that, get a little bit of difference between Canada and Scotland, which there's obvious differences, no brainer there, but just kind of for other people that don't know things or like common misconceptions, maybe culturally, and then maybe can kind of, if you have any questions about here, not an expert on anything. I'm just a normal blue collared person that has a podcast studio in his garage. But I thought it'd be really neat to see what we're kind of shown or told about politics around the world. And then just see, maybe you got some corrections. I'm like, I would assume you have a lot of them about kind of like what we're kind of told, maybe not. But I mean, like, we're both crown countries or part of the monarchy, right?
Yeah, in the Commonwealth.
But a lot of our culture in Canada is influenced by the States. So like a big one that I find it's frustrating is gun policy is literally compared here to the States, and it's not even close.
Yeah, so we're quite similar, where we get compared to the United States quite a lot, being the United Kingdom.
Really?
So European countries see us as like a bridgeway across the Atlantic, and
Okay.
the bridge between Europe and the States. Obviously, we're very good allies. However, yeah, there's definitely a conception of Canada and America gun policy. They kind of just merge into one. We only really hear the negatives of gun policy, so we don't really hear any positives about it. So it's quite easy to form an opinion based on what we're getting told, rather than actually living with guns. And then from our point of view, obviously the mass shootings, the school shootings, we've had Charlie Kirk get assassinated this week.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'll talk about that all day long because I am a fan of Charlie Kirk. Like, when I say I'm an enthusiast, I wouldn't say like I paid to go see any of his stuff or listen to his podcast every day. But that's right now, it's a current event. That's pretty. That will change a lot of things politically, even like geopolitics. It will change stuff for sure.
Of course, it kind of demonstrates that maybe gun policy does need to be a wee bit stricter. Well, if you're going to have guns, you need to have stricter security measures in these campuses. So there's reports of people walking in with no security. So you'd think maybe if it's a Charlie Kirk's a big deal in the States, so you'd think he'd have a wee bit more of a security detail.
Yeah, I found that kind of, I know we're jumping all over the place, but that's fine. We can literally come back to everything if you're like, hey, let's segue back to this. I noticed that too. Like he has like special teams around him. If you watch his videos, he has like that. And then you notice that the crowd barriers kept going up. Then obviously people can find out anything. If they could almost take Trump out, why wouldn't they be able to take him out? And he just, I don't know if it was ignorantly or whatever it was. And I say ignorantly, I'm like, he was never, he's not a stupid person, but rifles are a thing. And obviously that's how Trump almost got taken out twice. That's how a president got killed, assassinated. But
You think that would push the government to make reforms and maybe change the gun laws slightly just to protect people of status like that? Because, well, Charlie Kirk's been assassinated now. Who's going to be next if they don't actually make any reforms? It's like us. So we talk about school shootings and mass shootings. We had one in Scotland. It was the Dunblane school shooting where a guy went into a school and shot up. And after that, we basically had a complete clamp down on guns. We got rid of them all. So, and now we don't have any school shootings. We don't really see any gun violence. Yes, we've got issues with knife violence, but you can kill a lot more people with a gun than you can with a knife, is the way I try and look at it.
they have the Second Amendment, which is built in, like I'm sure you learned about this, right? The how much of the Constitution did you actually have to study? Did you learn any, like, did you have to learn any of it?
Don't need to really learn much about American politics.
I didn't know if it was like if they like just did major countries, I would say like influential ones, because they always go up and down, right? Like China, Russia, US, and then at one point UK was a mass thing. Like I don't know your course that well, but I did look up like what you could kind of go into, which I felt was, it made sense when you went to Geneva, right?
Yeah, so did a study trip to Geneva with the United Nations and a few of their partner organisations. It was quite interesting. But yeah, going back to that, the Second Amendment right, or constitutional rights, Trump's talking about changing the constitution anyway. So if you can change a constitution for one thing, then it kind of sets a precedent that you can actually change it.
You can amend it. Yeah, they've had quite a few amendments. Like I know their big one, they were like slavery was a big one, right?
Of course, yeah. So if you can set a precedent there, then the Second Amendment right really doesn't have any foundation. It can be amended as well.
They'll be in a big issue. I just am a sponge for stuff. I don't know why, but they're saying like, okay, they've got 400 million guns in circulation. How are you going to get them back? You know what I mean? Like they're trying to do a gun buyback here, which we have it will be. Was the dog barking?
Yeah.
I think we were 11 or 12. I'll get fact checked on that for sure. But I mean, it'll be the same thing there, like, cause they had an unregistered situation and then they had like your prohibited here or your restricted, sorry. So that's like your semi-automatic, anything that looks scary essentially is your restricted. That's what everyone calls an assault rifle, but we don't, it's just something that looks scary essentially. And then handguns too, which now are prohibited. So you can have them, but you can't use them. So it's a very weird, it's a very like problematic thing that they've got going on here, at least. A lot of people aren't happy about it because it just banned a bunch of stuff that didn't actually do anything of, like they had like one of them on the list was like a collectible gun. It was like, I don't know, tens of thousands of dollars. Like, okay, like most people don't even shoot that. They just have it. You know what I mean? Like it's just odd how they just arbitrarily pick. They called out the one member of parliament, the new guy. He didn't even know what an RPAL was. He didn't even know what it like anything to do with a gun license, but he was in charge of them here, which was like super wonky on our politics side. It doesn't put much faith in the people that are kind of in charge. Yep. If they don't know what, like putting somebody in charge of a hospital that doesn't know anything about hospitals is kind of weird.
Yeah, so you'll find that with most politicians though,
really,
and in most governments. So in the UK, we've got like different secretaries. So Scotland secretary, got Secretary to Northern Ireland, Secretary Wales, but also like Foreign Sec, Health Sec, and these people, they're politicians or they're lawyers before and they go into politics. They're not healthcare professionals. They don't really know much about it, but it's more the team that they have behind them. That is the important part. So if you've got good advisors, then you can inform policy making. So the guy in charge of gun laws in Canada, he'll probably have some advisors behind him that'll sway him in a certain direction that's in line with his party's views.
Yep.
Which is also an inherent flaw in our political systems, is that these people are they're voted in to represent us on a national level. However, once they're voted in, they kind of just toe the party line, which is obviously not exactly what everyone wants in that constituency. So there should be a bit more transparency, I think, between elected professionals and the constituents that they're representing. Whereas now it just doesn't seem to be the case.
It seems problematic, opinion based. Using that as like the prime example of the firearms guy here, or public safety, whatever the hell his thing is, because he could have the wool pulled over his eyes. He looked like a complete idiot in Parliament, which was like to have the state. I say this to everyone who's like anti-gun, even if you don't want to have guns, you don't like guns, whatever. Take the PAL, position acquisition license. Take the safety course. It's like $300, and then make an opinion after that, because no one there is like, we're going to start a civil war. Like, they're not messing around whatsoever. If they think you're even remotely sketchy, they're like out. Like, it is like a very hard club to get into. And I've used this argument with people a lot, where I would much rather be friends in Canada with people with gun licenses, because I know that you don't have a criminal record, because you can't even get one with a criminal record. You can't get one if you're on antidepressants. You can't get one if you've, spousal abuse, if you've been divorced within so many years. But like, I just renewed my paperwork to do mine, and it's like, if you've been divorced within so many years, or had a partner or long-term partner within so many years, you have to publicly notify those people. At one point I was divorced, so it was like, it was mutual then, because I was looking to renew it then, but I'm like, the RCMP is just going to red flag this right off the bat. And she was aware of it. And I told her about it. She's like, yeah, she's like, I'll like, you can use her as reference. But I'm like, that's just a red flag and times 10. I'm not even a bother deal. So I let it go for another 5+ years before I even care. I'm like, I just don't care. Right. But culturally around here, it's a big thing. And now we find, like a big one is like home protection. People are realizing you can't shoot people that break into your house and try to do anything. We literally did you hear about the York or Peel police chief that was like, just comply with people that break in your house. Yes. Don't do whatever. I'm like, that is the saddest thing. Like, you get mocked. I don't know. Did that make it? Were you here when that happened, or was that before you guys got here?
Before we got here, we did hear about it though.
Did that made like a global stage? Like,
it was more on like social media rather than actual media outlets, but through the grapevine, yeah, we heard about it. And then we also heard about the Florida governor or whatever just saying that if you come at us as police officers, we will shoot you, which is, you wouldn't really find that in the UK whatsoever.
The Florida, that's not the first time. That's the same county that's like, you shot at the person, we're not trying to charge you. This is like a live report or a live interview, and he's like, we're not trying to charge you. We actually want to help you get better training so you can actually hit them easier or better, sorry, so you can be more accurate. And then it's like polar opposite here. I kind of knew that too, because like the law is kind of shady, where it's like reasonable force, but you're like, it's 3 a.m, you have a newborn, your wife is terrified next to you, and some people come in all garbed up, and they've got either an object or you don't know what it is, and you're just like, oh, let me turn the lights on and assess the situation. I'm like, I'm going to go through you. Like, why? Like, you're coming into the house unannounced. It should just be as soon as you come in uninvited, all bets are off. But I mean, whoever created the laws that way, it's like they've obviously never had anything bad happen to them, or they are going off of, well, in this one situation, it was a misunderstanding, and we went into the neighbor's house thinking it was grandma's, and he got shot. You know what I mean? Like, just like some nonsense thing that at least I can't think of something. I mean, there could be situations in where you are where you're like, oh man, this was somebody stumbled in drunk and didn't know and got, dabbed up. But it's like here, it's like, don't go into someone's house. Like you saw our dogs. Like as soon as you knock on that door, that dog is going off instantly. The one looks friendly and he's not, and the other one looks scary and she is. So it's like, it's a very, I'm like, I don't know. You have intent when you're going in someone's house, period.
Yeah. I think Canada's from what I've experienced since being here, it's quite a laid back country when it comes to house security. A lot of people just leave their houses open, leave their cars open.
A lot of people that I used to hang, like I would say 15, 20 years ago, the amount of people I knew that left keys in the ignition.
Yeah, like that is unheard of in Scotland.
Oh yeah, like in like rural places too, but it's like a community watch. Nobody's calling the cops. They're just like, hey, I saw your truck drive by, like let's go get it. You know what I mean? Like there is a division between like rural and city life. In a lot of aspects, actually, we get the shit part is that we get kind of governed based upon what people want in the city, and they know nothing about like what we live in up here. Like there's a reason why people drive 20 minutes to work. There's a reason why people pay hundreds of dollars a month to heat their house because they don't want to live in a city, right? They just do. Like we didn't get high speed internet until like 2 years ago.
Oh really?
Yeah, like we don't have cell reception at all. Like where we are, and we're not that far from a city. There's just not the infrastructure. A little bit. There's dead spots, but home phone lines. There's not home phone lines out here anymore. It's cell phones. So
yes, home phones are kind of dying out.
Yeah, they're kind of obsolete.
Yeah, but going back to comparing United States gun laws and Canada, it seems Canada is more of like a gun hobby rather than enforcement. So. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not.
First Nations, I was going to say right off the bat. First Nations, right off the bat, it's a cultural thing, and B, it's they use it for a food source too, right? I mean, you can use bows, but realistically, up north, you're using rifles for sure.
Yeah, but like carrying handguns or
no, that's not a thing.
So you have to tell the police that you're taking it or something.
There's I forget the acronym for it, but you have to, like, say I was going to the range with it, right? So they know you have it. And if you have a restricted firearm, which is now prohibited, if you have that in Canada, or at least in Ontario, I think it's federal, so it's all Canada, you get a background check on you every day.
Oh, really? Okay.
Every single day. They check, the RCMP runs your name for anything, which is fine. I'm like, I don't know one gun owner that cares. There's like, whatever, if that's kind of like the middle ground. Like I haven't met one gun owner that isn't against middle ground on things, but they're not okay anymore with stuff being taken away or just like random arbitrary laws that just don't make any sense without grounds, right? Because they just compare everything in Canada to the States, some school shooting, which is terrible. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but that's just how they kind of say, well, it happened there, so it's going to happen here. They'll blame the tool, which is kind of a pain in the ass, but they never ever form a solution like school security. I'll touch back on that after, but anyways, you have to call the RCMP and say, I'm transporting between this time and this time to this range. And you have to go there. It still has to be kept locked and all the normal secure measures. You go there and then you say, I'm returning at this time. I believe they can call and check, or you have to call back. I never had one of those licenses. So I don't know the fun, like the nitty gritty, but either way now you can't do anything with them. So it's, I get some things. I don't have a disagreement with it. If you're have mental issues or abuse issues or some sort of criminal, I don't say anything against it myself personally. Like, I don't think it's like a right everyone should have necessarily, but I also don't think everyone should just have it taken away just because I always grew up with them. Like, everyone's always had them in the house. We never had school shootings when they taught shooting in school, which is an odd thing. Yeah.
It definitely is a culture thing. Like in Scotland, no one really cares about guns. I've got an American friend in my course, and he's from Tennessee.
Oh, he loves guns.
Loves guns.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't seem to understand that it's just not part of our culture whatsoever.
No. Yeah, no, it is. And that's fair, right? It is. Like, you don't, like, I'm sure you've been to lots of other countries and you see a difference. Some of them are like, yeah, we like guns. Some of them are like, nope, not at all.
Yeah.
Like military stuff is a big and what, Croatia? Is it Croatia?
Croatia, yeah. I've been to Croatia. Yeah, it's quite a militant country as well. Mm-hmm. But the place we went to, Zadar, it was just a tiny little, it's a city, but it's not really. It's a small village on an island that you can walk on. And and yeah, beautiful, absolutely beautiful place. And then also very rich with history. History that I didn't really understand or know beforehand. So before I went to Croatia, I didn't really know much about what the Croatians did during the war, but it's some pretty gnarly stuff.
Who conquered it? Like, who was the main?
So Croatia were part of the Axis side, so with Germany, Italy. They did some pretty heinous things as well, so death camps, just like what you'd expect within the Axis forces.
But you never really hear about them because they weren't big enough to make the news.
Exactly, yeah. So
Unless somebody's done a deep dive to be like, this place is really bad.
you find that, so there's so many horror stories from wars that without going to the countries, your media will only select a few they'll actually tell you about, because there's so many, you can't tell every single story of every single person who died in the Holocaust or got beaten by the KGB. So Latvia is a very good example as well. So we went to a KGB house in Latvia. They were conquered by, they were part of the Soviet Union, conquered by the Nazis. They were actually celebrating the Nazis liberating them from the Russians. Then when the Nazis got forced back, the Russians took over again, and they lived under Soviet rule for a long time until I believe about the 1990s, just before the collapse of the Soviet Union. And then obviously we had the KGB houses, and this one we went to visit was still functional. You could still see all the cells, see all the torture devices. And interestingly, they had a tour a few years prior, and they said the president or the leader of this KGB house came back and had a viewing of the house, but they couldn't touch him. He was pardoned for his sins or whatever by the Russian forces. They didn't think he was doing anything wrong. He was just following orders, which comes down to...
And he released a lot of information that gave him a pass, I bet, too, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
I would suggest so, yeah. But that's intrinsic within politics, is that you can always, if you've got enough power, you can kind of pass the buck on. And
well, that's the Operation Paperclip, right, in the States, where they just acquired all the engineers and scientists from the Nazi Party and then formed NASA or something.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about
Wish
that.
we could Google that right now. I mean, I could, but I'd be like this on the phone. But this is all off our memory, so this will be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I know there were special deals given to whistleblowers, is what we'd call them, but I'm not sure about the morality in that.
Mm-hmm.
So part of my course is restorative justice. So it's all about a victim-centric justice policy to best either punish aggressors or perpetrators, is the word I'd use. And then, or we can do restorative justice, which is more about reconciliation and bringing aggressors and victims together and healing society. And it's to basically make a better society to live in post-conflict. So it's quite it's a deep topic.
So like Japan and the United States.
Kind of, yeah. So the example I would think of would be like child soldiers. So these children are victims of a war crime. They're being used in conflict. They were abducted and brainwashed into doing these heinous acts. However, they didn't think that they were doing anything wrong. So they don't know about the Geneva Convention. They were brainwashed by warlords, and then they've done all these different crimes, right? So as a victim, do I want to prosecute these child soldiers if they wronged me, or do I want to let them heal and build a society together, and then that leads to further, basically...
Do you think they could heal?
It depends on the case by case, to be honest. I disagree with restorative justice on the most part. So the way I look at it is, if my family was hurt by a child soldier, it doesn't really matter to me if they're a victim of a war crime, they've wronged my family, they've hurt my family, I'm going to punish them for it.
Yeah.
Is the way I see it. And I think that's more of a victim-centric view, is that, and that's the most important thing in justice, I'll add, is that you need to have a victim focus when you're dishing out punishments.
How many, like, has there been any case studies? Has there been any evidence to support either side of them? Like, is there any times in history where it's worked?
Yeah, so an example that kind of reinforces my view is that I can't remember his name, but the ICC, the International Criminal Court, they deal with international crime, so war crimes, genocide, these sort of things. There was a previous child soldier who then came through the ranks of a Lord Army, or whatever it's called, in Africa, and then he started abducting children and forcing them to fight. So he then got prosecuted for that war crime, but the argument was, well, he was also a victim of that war crime, so is that like...
So it's like a victim of child abuse, like, say, here you could relate it and say somebody that was sexually abused by a family member and then does that when they're an adult, they're like, well, it's okay because they were abused when they were a kid.
Kind of, yeah, domestic level. But
yeah. I mean, war crimes is a little bit different when you're giving them AKs and you're telling them, like, go kill that whole village over there.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's important to recognize the agency behind decision making. So the circumstances that have pushed people into making these decisions, because I'm of the belief that no one's inherently evil. It's circumstances that have pushed them in and basically molded their personalities and characteristics to make them the way they are.
Isn't it weird that to think that somebody isn't, but everyone is capable of it?
Yeah, I think every single person is capable of evil if put in the right conditions.
Literally at the beginning of our conversation, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, like, that person came from a Republican background, I guess. I don't know. There's always something new that comes out about the people. And then he just didn't agree with him, so he shot him. So, I mean, somehow, and it's like, was that person trained? You know what I mean? Like, that's like you're doing like you're going through a commercial building, you're planning an attack, you're succeeding in it, and then you're escaping. Like, that's all skill set that somebody was taught. You know what I mean? You don't just, well, maybe you can watch a movie, but still, that's pretty crazy. So, like, with these kids, they're like, how do you get that out of them? Because, I mean, you're inflicting so much trauma generally from age. Like, what constitutes a child soldier? Is there an age limit to make them a child soldier?
Different countries have different rules. So, in an adult in Scotland is 16.
Okay.
Whereas in other countries it's 18. Some are as young as like 14. So I believe Sierra Leone, which had a brutal civil war, they're an adult by 14. So they're tried as adults, which I don't particularly agree with, but it's their rules. They can do what they want, I suppose.
I've met 25-year-olds here that are not adults at all. Like, they're still like as equivalent to like 12-year-olds.
Exactly. So,
but I mean, that here it's 18 because they need those usually legal ages for war, right?
Aye, so I think
translate. What does I mean?
It means yes.
Yeah, we're going to do that a few times in this, where it's like just do. We were talking about this before the podcast. Just translate your slang, and the same. If you ask me, like, what did you just say? I'm like, I'll have no problem being like, try to relate it, right? Just the differences in language.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Scotland's got quite a difficult accent to understand at the best of times, even for me.
When you're all together, it's worse.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially when we've got a drink in us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think case by case, you need to look at the agency behind the decisions that people have made. So a child soldier, a big thing about restorative justice is, like in the case of reconciliation, is the victims and the perpetrators need to kind of shape their own healing for society. So the child soldier, as a white guy going to Africa, I can't be like, oh, this is what you should do, by the way. This is, that's white knighting is what they call it. Yeah. So that's me imposing my Western views on how your society should be run. Whereas you need to take a step back and be like, how can we help you? Is the way like humanitarian work or restorative justice work should be run. Not always going to work that way. Sometimes you will just need to, like, if you're in a crisis, you kind of just need to put your foot down and like, this is what needs to happen to make this better.
Yeah, stop burning people alive.
Yeah, that's a good start.
Yeah, like sometimes it's just like it's pretty blunt and like, you know, there's difference from wearing your shoes in the house to you know, just shooting people, like mowing them down. Like they're used as soldiers or they were used to do criminal acts, right? If it was drug dealing, kidnapping, whatever it is, right? In those places. Yeah, that's pretty wild. I mean, that's a conflict I do not hear that as a regular conversation here.
It's great.
Ever.
It's honestly such an interesting topic. Like I've done a lot of papers in that on the past about them, and the more you read about these individual cases, you kind of like, oh, you know what? I can actually understand the agency behind it. I actually kind of feel for them. What they've done is horrible, but if they've been brainwashed, can you really blame them? Yes, I believe that you, as a human being, you know what's morally right. You know you shouldn't kill that person. However, being brainwashed, you can kind of understand it.
And in some situations, if you don't kill them, we're going to kill you or your family.
That's the thing, yeah. So Afghan war, the US soldiers, they were told either you kill them or we're going to punish you. And yes, they were rightfully prosecuted for it. However, you kind of do feel for them. They're put in an impossible situation.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, and it only really applies to people who lose.
Correct, yeah. The winners write history.
Yeah, that's right. And kind of now, though, is like that's kind of interesting with how tech works. And if narratives, for instance, if narratives aren't followed, you watch those people get canceled or go after really quick. Like what you did your dissertation on.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, this is the narrative. If anyone goes against it, you are now the enemy.
Yeah, you see it a lot nowadays. People are too quick to come to judgment. They should really take some time and form their own opinions, not just look at what the media's pointing them towards rather than...
Propaganda works. It's worked in World War II. Why wouldn't it work now?
Yeah, well, I think... Yeah, it's interesting to hear different stories from around the world. So our media will tell us one thing, yours will tell us yours another. So
we are supposed to be pro-Ukraine, but most of the country is like, and it's not that people aren't, like if that's kind of where we're segueing now.
Okay.
I would say most people are like just the culture, which you could easily pick up just by being in the room with people. Sometimes, I mean, a lot of people do not like talking about that stuff. They just kind of glaze over. They're like, oh, where are we going to go camping? Right? They really don't give a shit about all the protests in Toronto. They're just more pissed because now their trip to the Jays game now takes 4 hours because just somebody's blocking the fucking road.
I think that's the issue as well, though. If you can't see the problem, you don't care.
Yeah, 100%. It's the cupboards. It's the cupboard scenario. Is the house a mess? We're like, I don't know. The cupboards are shut. I haven't opened them.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's a weird one, but yeah, that's how I kind of relate it. But I think monetarily, like you'll see people are and I did again some minor research on Scotland too, which is weird how all the crown countries are all having kind of the same issues, but it makes sense because they're all under the same control. They're just kind of different. Mm-hmm. Right? Maybe like you tell me if I'm wrong, but that's just I've noticed a pattern. If it doesn't matter where it is, but people are just pissed because we get taxed quite a bit. Everything costs money here a lot. There's 13, 14% on everything. There's always a tax or a new law, like carbon tax. Like everyone pays carbon tax. They don't really they bitch about it, but they are not like, well, what's it for? They're like, oh, it saves the climate. They just talk in generalities, hence the name climate change. We're like, well, no shit, the climate changes all the time. It's like a health expert. And you're like, okay, well, you can't argue because you're a health expert. So it's just like the monetary thing. And then when you're like, wait, we don't got money here for our hospitals that are kind of overrun or our schools or our roads or any sort of projects here. But we've got money to borrow, not to give. We've got money to borrow, to lend for people. Don't even understand about the artificially inflating the GDP. They don't know about like proxy war. They're just like, what? That's made up and stuff like that. So people really aren't educated. And I think there's a reason for that, because then people would be like, what the fuck are you doing? There'd be a lot more outrage other than everything's expensive. Because our wages don't go up with inflation, which people are really figuring that out quick right now since COVID. But everything is expensive. So everyone's just really seeing, they're like, why is all this money going here? And I'm living paycheck to paycheck for obvious reasons. Sometimes it's self-inflicted. Sometimes it's not. Let's be real. It's a first world country. If I can't get a Netflix subscription, then they get pissed. But that's kind of the climate. The Palestine thing, they just added on top. There was just too many wars of giving out money. People just don't give a shit anymore. They're like, you're fucking up my 2-hour commute to work in the morning or on the weekend when I have time off. I don't care about your whatever's happening there. Could be tragic, but you don't know. First, Israel is bad. Now Israel was good. Now it's bad. We were allies with them in World War II. Now they're terrible people. And they're like, and then you just get, everything's just so, I think it's confusing on purpose, to be honest with you.
Lots to unpack.
Right? Like, is any of that just gibberish, or is it like,
I can see where you're going. I'll have a lot to say.
Sweet.
So I'll start with taxes. So Scotland pays a lot of tax. So Scotland pays more tax than England does per person.
Oh yeah, I checked it out. I would be in the 50%.
Which is okay in Scotland because we see a benefit.
Yeah.
So if you can see where your money's getting spent,
yep,
then you're a bit more okay with it. Like, so personally speaking, I went to university for 5 years. I've got a bachelor's degree in politics, and now I'm just about to get a master's degree in international conflict and cooperation. I didn't pay anything for those, completely free. So I'm getting a benefit of that. Under 22s, we get free bus travel. Over 65s get free bus travel as well. Free healthcare.
So your kind of middle class pays the socialized part of Scotland, right? You're 20 to 65, so people in their working age.
I think you need to take accountability and look after the most vulnerable in society.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you're measuring how happy a country is, you also need to measure the bottom line. And if that bottom line's higher, then everyone else is going to be higher as well. So I think looking after people through monetary aid isn't an issue, especially in Scotland. We're quite, from a personal standpoint, we're quite left-leaning country rather than, or central at least, to maybe Americans or Canadians. We're very far left, but in our political spectrum, we're just slightly left of centre. But yeah, if you see a benefit of where your taxes are going, then you're more inclined to agree with them.
Is everybody fiscally conservative, but more socially liberal? Is that kind of like a saying?
I would say so, yeah. So
It's the same here.
it's like...
Don't waste my money, but don't tell me what to do.
Kind of, yeah. So I think when you start off your politics career or whatever, you're kind of on the left-hand side. You've not got a lot to lose. You want everyone to be happy. As you get older, you start accumulating assets and then you earn more money. You've got more to lose at that point. You go to the right and you're conservative. You're like, no, I want my money in my pocket.
Yeah.
I don't want to help these other people. It comes down to realism, a grand theory of international relations, but it does apply, is that everyone's self-interested. It comes to down to philosophy as well. So
I've said this and you're going to say it's smart, which is awesome. Everyone's worried about themselves.
yeah, everyone is self-interested. In the state of nature, it's an anarchic system. It means that I'm looking out for me. I'm looking out for my family first. If I'm starving and I need to kill you to get some bread, I'll kill you.
That's why people want guns. That 100%. That's what 99% of people are like. Yeah, no, it's sports shooting. Like if shit hits the fan, like we saw during COVID, that is exactly what people didn't realize, that people weren't coming at one point, which was insane. And it's like somebody could show up and give me all your stuff, and you're like, no.
I can understand the argument. Yeah,
like a little bit, but you're planning for worst case scenario. But we literally had it. Like I literally remember driving. Like you drove to Toronto right? Like you drove there.
Yep.
It took me 35 minutes to get downtown Toronto from here during the heart of COVID because there
Yeah.
was nobody. It was, you watched Walking Dead?
Yep.
It was Walking Dead. I shit you not. And
Like
I was
going
out
into
there
a-
buying stuff and doing stuff.
See, I quite like COVID. I didn't mind it. Obviously, it was horrible for a lot of people, but for us, I got to spend more time with my family.
You were supposed to be social distancing.
Yeah, but we all lived in the same house, so it's
Oh,
fine.
so it's fine.
we just drank all day, and yeah, I was steaming all the time.
Yeah.
And then when furlough ended, I went back to work full time, and I made so much money.
What's furlough?
So the government paid 80% of your wage.
Oh, CERB.
Yeah.
We had CERB, yeah.
We call it
I
furlough.
never had it. I worked the whole time because I was essential.
So I was an essential worker as well. I was furloughed for maybe 3 weeks, and then I was on an 8-hour contract. I then got taken back full time, just to help out.
Where did you work? You went to school and worked?
This was before university.
Oh.
So I just finished 6th year of high school, so that was our last year.
It's 6 years of high school?
Yep. So 7 years of primary, which I believe you call elementary.
Yeah.
And then 6 years of high school.
We call it primary and elementary too. We call it the same.
All right. You can leave after the 4th year. However, I stayed to do the 6th. You get more qualifications. You can get into uni a lot easier that way.
Oh, okay.
But
University is uni.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then going back to your point about Ukraine and Russia, so you need to also understand that our sphere of influence, so we're a Commonwealth country, Canada, UK, we have the same sphere of interest.
Mm-hmm.
So it is not within our best interest, so realism. So I, as a person, look after myself. States also look after themselves first.
Mm-hmm.
So it is in my best interest to make sure Ukraine wins that war, as if Russia wins, then what's going to be next?
What are you saying that, like, what are they going to take next? Now, you gave them an inch, they're going to take a mile?
Yeah, it's an expansionist ideology that Putin has. So I wrote about this in my dissertation. I compared it to Hitler's ideology in the 1930s. So
it's pretty close. They allied with so he's allied with China, just like Hitler was allied with like Italy and Japan and stuff like that too, right?
yeah, so you find this comes down to, this is very deep theory in international relations.
Let's dig.
Okay, so democracies, it's called democracy theory. Democracies are less likely to go to war with another democracy. So, in essence, you're friends with your friends, you're enemies with your enemies. So, if you have similar interests, you're going to be friends with them. So, a democracy, us, France, Canada, United States, we're quite good friends. And then authoritarian regimes, so North Korea, Belarus, Russia, China, it's more likely that they're going to come together as well.
I didn't know Belarus was, I didn't know much about Belarus. That's just random.
Yeah, Belarus, it's kind of just like a Russian proxy state, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
And then that also comes to it. So it's in our best interest to have Ukraine supported. It's pushed more countries into NATO. So Finland, who are always neutral because they're right close to Russia, they're now in NATO. We were in Finland a week or two after the declaration of NATO, and everyone was celebrating. It was a massive deal. Everyone was really happy. That's in a capital city, though. I'm not sure what the rural environment would be like. I know on the eastern side of Finland, they're very pro-Russia. So they'll be mixed. But it's within our best interest to keep Ukraine's sovereignty.
Do you think Putin anticipated that? So, like, when people are going to do anything, they're kind of like, especially someone like that with a full team, full country, to say, hey, if we push through Ukraine, this country is going to join that country. This country is going to join us. Like, do you think they're playing a chess? Like, I think they are, but in your opinion, do you think there's a chess match going on, knowing that it would make them do that for a reason? You're like, I want you to do that, not because they're like people that are running countries. Someone, I wouldn't say Trump, but I mean, like, say Putin, for instance, like they're definitely going to be slightly egotistical. They're going to be almost like not psychopathic tendencies, but they're going to do whatever necessary at that level. Like, they both have the world's biggest armies. They don't have any reason to care, and they all have nukes. So at the end of the day, it's a big pissing match.
So you're describing realism, an international relations theory, where if you're the most powerful, you're the most secure. So to be fully secure, that you can defend yourself, you need to make sure that everyone else is not as powerful as you, right? So nuclear deterrence, everything. So interestingly, if you look at the war from a Russian perspective and view NATO as the enemy, NATO was told in the formation of the treaty not to expand eastward. However, they had the Baltics join, which is on the Russian border. They had Romania, all these different Yugoslavian countries join as well, which is creeping closer to Russia. And then Russia put their foot down and was like, listen, you better stop or we're going to kick off. And then Ukraine wanted to join. And they're like, no, it's not happening.
Yeah,
So
because they had a
stopped it.
deal prior to, and then the states kind of pushed it. Or the states had some sort of involvement with that.
Yeah, so Russia warned them and they didn't listen, and that's the consequence of that. Should another state be able to meddle in other states' affairs? No, it's
But
not.
they all do it.
Exactly, they do. Which brings us to Israel. So you mentioned Israel and Palestine. Again, sphere of interest. It's within United States, UK, Canada, Western countries' interest to have Israel there. That's why there's a support for Israel. Because the sphere of influence in that region, Israel's a good partner to have. It's like when Kosovo was declared independent. The United States had a lot to do with that. It's kind of creating like a wee puppet state. I don't want to call Kosovo or Israel puppet states whatsoever. However, there's a lot of American fingers in those pies. So it's, you need to understand that sphere of influence does impact foreign policy.
Mm-hmm.
So yes,
I assume that, but again, I don't have. People just figured out 4 years ago the World Economic Forum was a thing.
all right, okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I remember finding at the beginning of COVID, I'm like, they're literally talking about everything that's going to happen or what they want to do globally to a point. People are like, and then it just became this biggest thing. I know some people probably knew about it, but the majority of masses, nobody had a fucking clue. I sound like a crazy person when I'm like, have you seen this World Economic Forum thing? And then it was, you know what I mean? So it's like, there's a lot of things, like you said, that we're just not, it's not really advertised because people don't care. You know what I mean? Like I said, they're more worried about Christmas decorations before Remembrance Day. Like right after Halloween, Canadian Tire has the soft Christmas decorations out here. Like the day after. Actually, the week leading up to Halloween, it's switching
All right,
to
okay.
Christmas. Yeah. It's nuts.
Remembrance Day is a big thing back home.
It should be here, but people are just fucking stupid.
So I'm in a pipe band. I'm actually in Kincardine and District pipe band. There is a Kincardine pipe band in Canada.
Bagpipes.
Yeah, bagpipes. Yeah.
Yeah, because you got to preference.
Yeah, bagpipes. Yeah, so we call it a pipe band, but it's pipes and drums. And there is a Kincardine pipe band or bagpipe group in Canada, but we play in the Scottish band.
Okay.
But yeah, we go out, we do remembrance ceremonies, we do 2-minute silences, we have announcements in shops and everything, that the whole country just shuts down for these 2 minutes and respects are awarded, which is obviously the right thing to do, and I think more countries should adopt it as well.
They would if people got a clue, like other than people watching Save a Private Ryan, the majority of people are like, that's not a thing, right? It's it's the closed coverage theory that I said earlier. Like you don't see it, so you don't care, because we don't have any real conflict here, other than like you got some riots every time something random happens, but we don't even see that up here.
Sounds like you need to travel more.
I would love to. Do you know? I think my flight to Scotland in May will be close to $2,000.
Really?
Yep.
Expensive.
Yep. Yeah.
But through traveling, I've learned so much. And it also gives you a bit more of an appreciation for crises. So me and Lucy, my girlfriend, we went to Latvia a week after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And there was Ukrainian flags everywhere. There was Ukrainian refugees just getting dropped off outside the town hall to get relocated. Gives you a bit more of an appreciation for...
You're like, whoa, this is real.
Exactly. Like if you can actually see the issue, you're more inclined to help.
Mm-hmm.
And then, again, to come back to the previous point, country's sphere of influence, if you can understand international relations a bit more, you could kind of be like, right, I can understand why we're supplying aid to this specific country.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the idea.
I wonder if they're actually getting aid, though. You know what I mean? Like it's, when I say aid, I have a family member that's in the military, and it's like, they shipped over our 6 active tanks.
Yeah. So that's unprecedented. So...
Because we don't have any more after that. Like we have more tanks, but they're not operational from what I was told.
So I talked a lot about this in my dissertation this semester as well. So I did a chronology, which is like a fancy word for timeline of events. So I did a 1930s timeline.
I like those.
Yeah.
I follow. That's the geopolitics I follow about that. They break that down.
Yeah.
Either way.
They explain the agency behind decisions as well. So a chronology is just a more deeper dive into a timeline. Mm-hmm. So I did 1930s, and I did from 1991 when Ukraine gains sovereignty from the Soviet Union until the 2022 invasion. And there's so many similarities between the two. It's quite frightening. It's a bit too close for comfort. However...
So it's predictable.
It is. There's patterns. That doesn't mean that it's going to cause a world war or anything, but there is definitely patterns there that can be analysed and explained and applied theories to. But the point I was making was it was unprecedented for Ukraine to be supplied with lethal aid in that way. It was unheard of. So when Crimea was invaded and annexed in 2014, no military aid whatsoever, just sanctions, quite soft measures that could be reversed. And then Crimea remains a part of Russia to this day. The Donbass war, which led to the 2 Minsk protocols, again, no military aid whatsoever. And then when Russia invaded Ukraine, we got some military aid coming through. In part, I believe that's due to Ukraine's resolve, where they actually held out against Russian forces a lot better. It kind of undermined the power of Russia. So it kind of gave us a bit more confidence. It was like, right, we could probably take Russia if it came down to it. So here's some arms. It's kind of like fighting a war, but not actually having direct involvement.
I think they're chipping at it, like just as like, again, it's an opinion, which everyone has them. I get it. But I feel like this, like the world's biggest armies are Russia, China, United States, like for people, right? Like
India as well.
India?
Massive force. Which is dangerous because obviously Russia, China and India, they've just had a wee summit and had a nice wee private meeting.
And they're like, if something kicks off, it's like, you're on our side, right? And they're like, yeah.
Which is also strange because India and Britain have quite a close relationship as well, being an ex-colony.
Yeah. They colonized a lot of it.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Lucy about this on the way over here. So it'd be interesting to hear your views on the British Empire. So we get taught one thing. I'm interested to know what you actually know about the British Empire, because we don't get taught anything bad. We just get taught all the good things that happened.
So myself, because I'm somebody who spends a lot of time looking for stuff. I mean, you're North America, like, okay, how do I explain it? So like I know random Caribbean islands, parts around the world where they speak either French or English or whatever. It's because when they sailed around and they were looking for, spice, whatever the hell they were looking for at that point in time in history, is where they colonized. So it's like I knew that. Obviously, anybody who colonizes, they don't like here with natives, right? Like everyone hates all of us because Britain, France, Spain. I think Spain. Was that the States?
Spanish, yeah.
And the Spanish were more south, right? And then
Portuguese as well.
Portuguese.
South America, yeah.
Yeah, that's in North America. And then I believe Russia, though, because that Baron the Barren Land Gap or the Barren Strait, like that was, a lot of people don't really recognize that as a thing. Like everyone thinks everything goes left, but they forget that things can go right.
Yeah, when you look at a world map,
Yeah.
aye.
It's always everyone turns to the left, but
Which
never.
is a sidebar, by the way. Like American maps are crazy to us because
Oh, they're not accurate?
no, American map, like an American map, it kind of cuts countries in half to have them either end of the map, so America's in the middle.
Yeah.
Whereas our maps are all Europe are in the middle, and it's just the ocean.
Is that cryptography mapping?
Yeah, cartography.
Cartography, that's it. Yeah, maps are pretty. I like looking at old maps because you're like, and then that's when people get really conspiratorial. Like, I knew Atlantis was real. Fucking knew it. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's like the narrative is bad war happened. Guy with mustache ended up making an alliance. But if you know anything about World War II history, the States didn't come in until the end. Well, Britain was, like, when I say end, the last so many years.
1941. Yeah, they joined.
Yeah.
They were isolationists at the time.
Yeah, and that was only until Pearl Harbor that it really started because it was
It's Japan's fault.
sort of. But isn't there, okay, so you go back into history. Well, didn't Japan do that as retaliation because the States got into it with a war that Japan was in with somebody else, and then that was just kind of payback? They already had a grudge against them for something that happened maybe within the 100 years prior to that. Is that right?
Yeah, I like to theorize that one of the biggest turning points was America joining the war. However, I like to theorize, could Japan have actually pulled it off?
No.
You think? So there's a...
I think it's a size thing because if it ended land, I know, sorry to cut you off, but like as soon as you were to say land on United States, I think they'd take them on their home country all day long.
Okay.
Like the state, I think, like if they were to make it to the States, I think that's where they would just lose. It'd be like anybody that goes into Russia doesn't fare off well, right? Like the Germans tried that, and it's too cold, but it's you got the hometown advantage because you know the area better than anyone else. Even currently, I don't think anybody fucks with military wise with the States because that's the most heavily armed private country, and it's like people are just wishing for that to happen. They're like, yes.
Yeah, so I could think that Japan did very well from a Japanese perspective at Pearl Harbor. They then just sat back and were like, oh, we've got them here, guys, we've got them. But they didn't, and they let them rearm, they let them recover, and then they got annihilated. Whereas if Japan were more forthcoming, did Pearl Harbor, then they just kept going, being relentless. They might have actually been able to do it.
If their supply chains were tight, because that's a small island and you only have so much. If all their stuff was coming from that island, they would eventually run out. Like the land mass from the States to Japan is completely different.
But you also had the Japanese empire at the time as well. So you had Manchuria, which was basically part of China before it was annexed by Japan and made a proxy state. So you've got a supply chain there as well.
Oh, okay.
So there are a theorist called Edward Luttwak, and he is a very, very radical theorizer. So he thinks that the only way to achieve peace, so peace building or peacemaking, is that you have to completely destroy your enemy. So if Japan employed those tactics and completely wiped out the US supply chain and they're just relentless, they might have actually won and we would have had peace. Like if Germany won instead of the Allies, it might have been quite a peaceful Europe at the time because it's only the German government in charge.
There is a lot, especially with the Israel stuff right now. Is this the same culture here where there's a lot of people like AIing Hitler's speeches and they're like, this is what we're dealing with right now. Like, is that accurate or is that just made up shit?
I've not looked too much into the...
I really didn't want to AI Hitler's speeches because I feel like you get red flagged. I once Googled Black Lives Matter and like looked that up. It instantly on my Google search thing was like, now being registered, or if, whatever it is, it's just like it's now being registered. I'm like, I just wanted to know what all the riots were about. You know what I mean? Like do my research and like see what they're all about, which whatever. But I'm like, I'm not fucking AI in that. I'm like, that is like, we're already censored. We're already watched as it is, which is pretty evident. I'm like, I'm not looking at it. Like, somebody's listening to this fucking thing.
Like, genuinely, if you look at my, like, for my dissertation, the searches that I was making, like, why did Mussolini do this? Why did Hitler decide to do this? It's pretty,
Somebody wrote about it, but you're like, is there anybody that's like, they had a point? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that they do have a point, but was there anybody that made that where they're like, they kind of like they were kind of being dicks or something like that? You know what I mean? Like, you're not really taught that. Like you said, the histories are usually taught by the winners, right?
Yeah,
So it's like
winners
Hitler was bad no matter what. And granted, I mean, but the shit part was like, I followed a lot of like mega structures and engineering. Like, they did some fucking wild stuff.
So interestingly, I didn't find much about Hitler being good.
No, not good, but like why justification as to why he just, I don't like these people.
I didn't really make too much of a comparison in that, so I didn't do too much research. However, like economically wise, there was a bit of like praise for Hitler and Mussolini after the Great Depression, after the Wall Street crash, 1929. They kind of rebuilt their countries and made them economically strong. So there's a wee bit of praise for them there. But for like from an ideology standpoint, Hitler hating Jews, there's so many theories.
It wasn't just Jews, right? It was.
It's anyone who's not white. And
oh, really?
German.
It was like straight up. It was just a skin color thing.
Yeah, skin color, German. They believed that they were the master race. So.
Which they didn't really have much evidence to back that up, other than it was just like a theory, because he was like methed out. Like, they're finding so much research on how much drugs they were
That's the
on.
thing. You thought Germany was the master race, right? Or Germanic, at least. But like, he's from Austria, which is Germanic. However, he's not a full-bred German, so he used to hate immigrants as well. So
was it kind of like kind of what we're going through here now, where everyone's like, yeah, I understand that we need a certain level of immigration, but you're like, too much kind of fucks up the house.
So I have quite not a lot of people agree with my view.
The segue into the like is the Muslim migration a big thing in UK?
Yeah, of course. I think it's quite similar to how the Jews were treated in 1930s. There's similarities there. The government is running the country so shit that
their country or UK?
The UK.
Okay.
So the UK government are doing a fucking terrible job. So that they're basically like, oh, but it's their fault. Like, I'm struggling because
the Muslims are doing it.
It's their fault.
Okay.
It's kind of similar how.
But are they not in key positions of like political figures? Like isn't 7 of the 12 major cities Muslim or something? Is that made up?
No, so it's England. Scotland doesn't have mayors, but in England, yeah. But
yeah, I just looked that up. One of the, it's the same as here. It was is Muslim that he only lasted for a year or something, and then had to get
first
kicked
minister.
out. Yeah, he was a first minister, and then there was some corruption thing, so he got or sketchy thing, so he got kicked out.
No, he was just fucking useless.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Same.
And I'm a part of that political party that he was running.
Oh shit!
And I'm saying he was fucking useless.
Oh, it's kind of like Doug Ford and fucking conservatives here. He's conservative, but everyone's like, this guy's like a liberal with a blue color.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like, I think that people see themselves and it's like, oh, they don't take any accountability. It's like, I'm in this situation because I put myself. If I work hard enough, I can get in a better situation.
We're great. We don't have any problems.
Exactly. But when you do have problems, you blame someone else. It's always easier to blame someone else rather than looking at yourself and be like, you know what, I fucked up.
Yeah.
So instead of being like, oh, it's the Muslims' fault, just be like, actually, no, it's my fault that I'm in this situation.
They need some Jocko Willink. They need a little extreme ownership in their life.
Yeah, fucking, in Scotland, we've got a term, get a fucking grip.
Get a grip? Okay.
Yeah, just get a grip.
I think I've heard people say that here, get a grip, but it's more of like a older term, maybe 90s.
All right, we say it a lot.
You say it a lot?
Yeah.
So you feel it was the individual, not the actual, but like you're having a housing issue, correct?
Yeah, housing prices are going through the roof.
same as here, right? Like they had a huge influx of people. The States was like their whole open borders thing, which they've kind of got that apparently in control, but they were using this as a segue, which people don't want to believe that, but it was true. We had a huge influx in international students that just fucked off apparently. I always say apparently because I don't have anything in front of me to cite it.
Yeah.
I'd pull it up if I had someone else there to help me, but we're just going to go on. Just look it up yourself. You know what I mean? But it makes sense. I tried to relate this to somebody. I'm like, nobody, like my family's all immigrants. Like we're from Scotland. We're from England. They were They were World War II.
These countries were built on immigration.
Yeah.
So Scotland has a decline in workforce. So we actually need immigrants to survive.
Which workforce?
In what context?
Because is it blue collar or white collar?
Both.
Really?
So we're not producing enough population to sustain our
1.3 or something. Is it as low as ours? Like ours is 1.3.
I don't know. I don't know the exact figure, but it's declining. So we need immigrants to come in.
Sub it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but that's not to be said that we need illegal immigrants. We need through legal measures.
And a certain volume, because a system can only sustain so much. It's like I was explaining this to my wife, just kind of like bringing it down to relative terms. Like we have septic systems. You can only have so many people based upon your septic field size. It's like a hospital. It's like a school. You can't bring in 3 times what that can actually handle or the natural growth. But it kind of seems like it's a jam them in method, and we'll just figure it out as it goes, because the people at the top, I mean, their kids are going to private schools. They're not waiting in a 5-hour ER line at all. Like I've done this recently with our child. They're not traffic. I mean, they have people that drive them, or they take planes, or, you know what I mean? There's just certain people that don't have the common reality of what's actually happening. I would say our current prime minister that was just voted in. I'm like, I don't know how anyone's like, he's relatable. You're like, how? He didn't even live here for the past however many years.
How do you feel about him? Is he better than Justin?
No.
Or?
Like, I don't see why. And it's like, that was a quick answer because I'm like, he hasn't done anything. He won on a slogan, elbows up.
No credibility yet.
The credibility, because it's like he was in the UK and I don't know anything about him. So if you can add any light to that to help people would be great.
He was a nobody.
He didn't do anything.
No one knows anything about him.
Oh my God, that makes me so happy now. It's like, fuck all those people that are like elbows up crap. Like he's a world banker and he knows, he's got all these connections and stuff. You're like, he might for himself personally, but it sounded like he's buddies with Trump, which he went on a whole campaign that he was anti-Trump, and then he's like, I'm not doing anything now.
That's the thing. Like he probably does have good connections. However, in the UK, no one knows him. No one knows who he is or what he's done.
So he wasn't in charge of anything in the UK.
Not to my knowledge.
And you're pretty in politics.
Yeah, like I know a lot about politics, but he might have done something in England, but from a Scottish context,
not on a global scale, and it's not like you're not aware of stuff that happens in England.
Well, our obviously our politics.
They're not the same. I get that, but I mean, it's not far apart where you can't kind of hear something if something bad went down, right?
Oh no, we'd hear about it.
Yes. Okay.
I've never heard of him. There's a lot of Scottish people that will never know who he is. So,
okay.
And then I want to come back to the immigration problem as well. So immigration in the UK is a big topic at the moment. So
yeah,
illegal immigration as well. So they're coming over on the boats from France, crossing the English Channel, landing on the beaches, and then they're getting housed in hotels and
put up on your tax dollar.
Exactly. I don't mind too much if they are coming from unsafe countries. So that's what a refugee is. They're coming from, or an asylum seeker, they're coming from unsafe countries to a safe country. However, they're crossing multiple safe countries to come to the UK because they get better benefits. So they're going through France, they're going through Belgium, they're going through the Netherlands, they're going through Germany. They're coming to the UK from war-torn countries, yes, but you should be stopping at the first safe country, not traveling through.
I don't like this one. I'm going to go to the next one. Exactly. Like, how are you so picky when you're like, now where are they coming from exactly? Like these refugees?
A lot of African countries, and then Middle Eastern as well. However, you find like Scotland doesn't really have a legal immigration problem. England does, and they ship them up to us. So Glasgow have the highest rates of illegal immigrants in the UK. It's the city with the most illegal immigrants getting housed. But they're not coming to Scotland, they're going to England, and England's sending them to us. So what's the solution to that? You go independent, and you have a hard border between England and Scotland.
That's right, because because Scotland's trying to be independent, but that's like an issue, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really like funny. Alberta's trying to be independent from Canada because they just get kind of get dicked around. Essentially, the money they make off of oil revenue gets divided amongst the rest of the provinces.
That's our problem.
Oh, really?
We are a very oil-rich country.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Really oil-rich country.
Okay.
However, it's been underutilized.
They must be saving it. They do that here too for some reason.
It's been frittered away. So frittered means like wasted.
Yeah.
The opportunity was wasted.
Yeah.
So if you look at Norway, is a good one.
Yeah, because they're big on offshore.
Massive oil. So we share the same sea as Norway.
Yeah.
And we have very similar levels of oil fields. However, we struck oil at the same time. Norway is a very economically good country, and Scotland is it's really bad, where like pensions are the worst in the UK. We've got unemployment. It's just like, compared to Europe, we should be a lot higher up on the scale. Our energy prices as well are through the roof. So
they don't want you to drive cars because your carbon footprint.
Well, yeah. Not so much, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing here.
Oh, really? Nah.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be fully electric by 2030. Or I shouldn't say fully electric. We're going to have no sales
Hybrids
of...
Or...
No.
No sales of new cars.
Electric cars. And you're like, okay, so you don't live here at all.
It's the same as us. We're going to be like that. We're a lot less rural where I live, but up in the Highlands.
They won't achieve it. It was like, again, it's like COVID. They'll just push the goalposts. They're like 2035 and 2040.
It's just idealistic.
It's dumb.
Nonsense.
And people are like over it. They don't have any patience for it. It's like, just be honest about something. You're like, okay, we got some issues here and this is why. I think if you leveled with people, talking like adults and stop just gaslighting everybody, which seems to be a really big issue, I think you would get a lot more respect. You get a lot more patriotism. You get a lot more cooperation. But the issue is when you're telling farmers that run combines, you're like, oh, it's going to be fully electric, or it's got to be electric by this year. You're like, yeah, I'm going to stop harvesting after a 14-hour day to switch a battery and wait 10 hours. You're like, no.
Yeah. So if you're going to make a change like that, you need to have procedure in place well and before of like, this is how the change is going to happen. This is what we're going to help. Mm-hmm. This is what the result's going to be. Not just like, oh, you need to do this now.
Or they just put a tax on it and everyone just pays it. Yeah. Just tell them to fuck off. Like, that's drove me nuts about that. Being like, I'm like, I'll ask people like, what is it for? They're like, it's to prevent climate change. Like, exactly. How does it do it? I'm like, does it have R&D innovations? Is there any contracts that are done? No, it's just a penalization for doing something you need to do. It's another tax. It was like the ozone horse shit.
Exactly. So our oil fields value are dropping because
OPEC.
Yeah, like we're moving into a more electric world, not relying on fossil fuels, renewable energy. But if we took advantage of our oil sooner, then we could have been a lot better off. And I think, in my view, the British government are to blame for that. They run the fiscal policy, so they should have done something a lot better.
They sound like kind of dicks through history. Like Ireland doesn't like England at all, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or Britain.
Quite similar views. Ireland went quite militant with it because they were getting oppressed. They were treated terribly.
Yeah.
Where some people argue that we're treated as a colony.
Like Scotland is?
Yeah.
I could see that.
I can understand the view. Like, it's like the EU referendum. Scotland voted no to leave in the European Union. However, England and Wales voted yes. So as a result of that, Scotland gets dragged out as well. And there's no benefits to Brexit whatsoever.
I didn't understand the Brexit thing because that was happening right during COVID, wasn't it?
So yes, negotiations were. So the referendum was in 2016, but there was a lot of agreements and meetings and conferences just to.
What does
have a
Brexit
withdrawal
mean?
agreement. Britain exit.
So Britain wanted to leave the EU.
Yes.
Why?
Immigration. Immigration was a big issue. And they wanted the fiscal policy to be more centralised. So instead of having it in Brussels, have it in London.
So they wanted to get out of the EU so they didn't have to take refugees and they didn't have to take any sort of immigrants. They could just be like, no.
Yeah, we can run our own borders was the big one. Also, so you pay a membership fee to the European Union as well. We wouldn't have to pay
So it's
that
a
anymore.
percentage of your GDP, right?
Aye, right. So
okay.
I can't remember the exact figure, but it's like 300 million. So Boris Johnson had it on the side of a bus, right? He's like, oh yeah, if we leave the EU, we'll have 300 million a week to spend on our NHS. Our NHS is fucking shit just now because it's so underfunded. So where's your 300 million?
Yeah, you lost what you were paying. You got back being part of the EU.
Yeah, exactly. So it was free trade. We could trade with anyone in Europe.
So what is now? Is it tariffs on everything?
Mm-hmm. You've got tariffs. Well, not really tariffs, but
It's tax.
taxes. Yeah.
Same.
So it's frustrating from a Scottish point of view because our biggest customer, so England's our biggest customer. Other than that, it's the European Union.
So I followed briefly a little bit of Poland because that ends up on my conservative stuff. So it was like they have like a hard border. They're like they will shoot you if you cross that borderline. And he was I don't know who he's a very popular guy, but he's like he sells well to conservatives this way. I forget his name. I follow him on Instagram, but he was saying that the Russians were purposely flying in or pushing like migrants to countries and just doing that on purpose. They were paying to move refugees and immigrants to all these countries like the States, France, like all the ones that have problems. And I was like, oh, that's a kind of sneaky way for warfare. I never thought of that. Just flood it with a bunch of things and fuck their system.
Yeah, it's very tactical and strategic.
Like social media is a big one too.
Yeah, if you overwhelm an opponent with, like, if you distract them enough,
they're fighting with each other instead of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's I'd like to kind of point to what Trump's doing as well. So let's talk about
he's our Lord and Savior. You watch your tongue. I don't care.
Let's talk about the 51st state. Let's talk about Greenland.
Red,
white, whatever they want to call it now, right? So Trump's having your attention here, 51st state, the Greenland. He's making you look over here while he's fucking about behind your back. It's like magic. It's like
sleight of hand.
Sleight of hand, exactly.
Yep.
So he's making you look at this while he's actually doing stuff over here. Is the way I'd explain why he's talking about the 51st state, which will never happen. He knows it will never happen.
Some people want it to be honest with you.
Some people want it to, but
now once part of the monarchy, they'll be like, no.
I think
or part of the Commonwealth.
Looking at Canada, since I've been here, you've got Canada flags everywhere.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's a deep sense of, like, we're proud of where we come from. So do you think
50-50?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's like the province is pretty blue, like Ontario, but it's all controlled by two red spots. So it's like the GTA, so Toronto area and Ottawa.
So what do you mean by red and blue? Is that Democrat and Republican?
It's opposites. So blue would be your Republicans, and then red would be your Democrats.
So again, is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Conservatives. And
you've got quite a two-party system here.
Sorry, you have a third one, but it was a fucking joke. And it's like people don't realize it was the Communist Party. They just rebranded it to the NDP party.
So you see, in the UK, we have so many parties. Like
we have more too. We have like Green, the Bloc, but they don't have enough percentages to really matter. Like they have like a point, 2 point, the PP or the PP something, whatever. Like there's other smaller parties, but people get pissed because they take away votes from the other two that have the majority.
Yeah.
Right? Is that the same thing?
So it splits the vote, is what we'd say, which can be beneficial. So,
yeah, well, they teamed up. That's how the Liberals stayed in because they made bullshit promises with NDP. They're like, well, if you vote with us on stuff, we'll give you stuff you want. They didn't do anything. They just ran. I shouldn't say that so confidently, but I'm like pretty sure because they didn't get voted back in for anything.
Right. The Scottish system's really, really interesting. I'm not sure if you're aware, but we've got what we call a proportional voting system. So it means that it should be impossible for one party to get a majority in the Scottish Parliament. It will always be like a hung parliament. So no party will be able to force a vote. You have to work with each other.
See, that's the problem when they don't, like, it's kind of the same thing here to a point, but nothing gets done. You know what I mean? Because they're constantly going back and forth. Then they're on recess for an extended period of time. You're like, the fuck?
I think it's worked quite well in Scotland.
Yeah?
It's a very good system, and I'd like to see it implemented in the United Kingdom Parliament as well.
I'm just curious, and like there's a spitball in here for a theory here. Do you think it works so well because of your size and your demographic of your country, opposed to Canada, which is broad, and you've got East Coasters to West Coasters to Northern Canada people. Then you've got the Western Canada people. Like there's so many different, like Scotland, I'm saying there's different pockets, but it's a lot easier to kind of manage and divide opposed to Canada. Like I said, Ontario, if you move to the West, like Saskatchewan, Alberta, they'll ask you if you're liberal. Like my buddy just moved out there and they are serious. The whole town is like, are you fucking liberal? And like, they do not like you. They don't want any of your views. They don't want any of your politics. Doesn't mean your skin color. Just how you vote.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. Scotland's culture is so rich and it's got a lot of historical backing. So, yeah, I would say that through years of shaping this culture, we're all very similar. However, we do have like the islands who do vote slightly differently to how we vote.
Mainlanders versus the Baymen.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'd compare your analogy to, like different sides of the country.
Yeah, like Atlantic Canada has a different, they're Canadians, but they're a different feel. Oh, Quebec, there's a whole, they just want to be their own fucking country, which that was a thing for years.
Quebec or the French or the French Canadian population, they have quite special rights, am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
So their votes kind of actually mean more than other
and then they
Canadians.
also get subsidized like a motherfucker from Alberta, so they really hate each other.
So on the surface level, that doesn't seem very fair.
Life's not about being fair. It's about getting along as a country and doing our best. Yeah, it's shouldn't say it's all. It's very interesting. Most of our population live south of the, I forget the equator line, but not equator line, but
if you look at population density,
it's like here. I'd say the country's up here. It's like just down here. Like that's majority of it. So those people dictate what all those people do, and it's a completely different way of life. Completely different way.
So a proportional representation system might not work in Canada just because it's sheer size, but in Scotland it does work really well.
I'm glad like something like that works because then you can get an example for it, but it's like they need to divide it better or make accountability. They need to do something. Our politics suck and people are aware of it. People don't give a shit. They've had some like super low voter rates because everyone's just like, what does it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't really influence anything. Like you're
it
gonna
doesn't.
do what you want anyway. So
they literally this last election changed borders or changed like people's territories for certain ridings. So the guy that was slated or was pretty favored to win up until when they switched Justin Trudeau for Mark Carney at the 11th hour because he was so fucking hated. And then they brought in a nobody, as we so discussed, a relatable person, Conservative Party that was wanting to cut down on all the bad things. And which is like, that's pretty much all conservatives do, is they just cut stuff, which is fine because you're like, okay, well, we're overspending or there's issues. So it was like cut down on the immigration, cut down on printing money, cut down on what was he had like three or four of them. Brain fart here, but he'll come to me while we're talking. He came from Alberta, middle class family, had a new Canadian wife. I think she's Argentinian or some shit. So he's a very relatable person. And then he was just marketed so well on social media and our CBC, CTV, like that is subsidized very heavily from the Canadian government. So, I mean, that's conflict of interest, which nobody ever think, like half people are like, oh, that's not bad. We should support Canadian culture and put money into a media outlet. that's state fund broadcasting at its finest. You're like, they're not going to say anything bad about the party that's not going to cut their funding. They're only going to talk shit and be pricks to people that are going to cut their funding. It's black and white. It's pretty simple. You'll have like some outliers that get in there just so they can be like, no, we talk shit too, but they don't. Everyone can see it. That's why social media platforms, that's what you can't have news on our social media at all. You have to pay a tax. The companies, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of them, if you want to say news in Canada, you have to pay a tax for any sort of footage that you do back to the, yeah. So that's why if you go look up a news,
that's quite controlling.
What? Weird.
Yeah.
We're so controlled. It's the oddest thing. So anyways, they painted him not with a good light. And it was like, oh, he was like, he wasn't going to be strong against Trump. And they related him a lot to Trump. So it was smart tactics on their part. And then they brought in a guy that his slogan was elbows up. We're like, we're not going to take this shit from Donald Trump. Well, lo and behold, he did, because he has nothing to bargain against. Our biggest trading partner is the States in every way, shape, or form. Trump did not like how the dairy industry, I think.
Yeah, that's a big tariff on that one.
On the dairy?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, you can't bring products in here unless you pay big taxes to kind of keep our dairy market safe. And that's a big business, because I come from a background, I'm not a farmer or a dairy farmer, but like friends and relatives and family and friends are. That's a very big deal. Agriculture in general is. But anyways, so he's like, no, fuck you. You're going to take all that off, or I'm just going to tariff you. And then you're like, well, we're going to put tariffs on you. And then he's like, okay, then I'm just going to put another tariff on you because we don't need your shit.
It's funny watching Trump with his tariffs, to be honest.
He's just playing games. He's fucking with people and he knows what he's doing.
He's a smart man.
And everyone thinks he's a buffoon. He's an idiot, all this stuff. I'm like, he's not stupid. He's a social media star, and he knows how to get crowds on his side. He knows how to build trust. He knows how to make you feel good about stuff. If you read his book, you know exactly how he thinks.
And I think the tariffs were never about actually getting people to pay and getting money into the US economy.
He wanted to get rid of, he wanted to have complete free trade.
Of course.
Right?
So he got people annoyed, but they then come and speak to him. They're like, right, let's work out a deal. So he then negotiates a more favourable deal as a result of these tariffs. So he's just using them as a mechanism or a tool to get a more favourable outcome, realism in the next sense.
He's like, I pointed this out to a bunch of people, and kind of two things there. I'm like, everyone's like, oh, you're a Trump supporter. I'm like, I'm not really anybody's supporter anymore, because everyone's full of shit and they all lie and they all do what's in their best interest, really.
So Scotland has quite a weird relationship with Trump. So a lot of us are anti-Trump. However, he does do a lot for our economy. So he owns a lot of golf courses in Scotland.
Really?
Which bring millions of investments into Scotland.
We hate you, but thank you.
Yeah, kind of like,
fuck you.
Fuck you, but yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take a membership.
And then, so his state visits and everything get cancelled every now and then. But you kind of want to keep him on side. His mum's actually Scottish.
Oh, really?
Or his mom, as you say. We say it with a U. But his mum's Scottish.
You say it quick, and we're like, mom.
Yeah.
I don't know. We say both, depending where you live.
So
Matter.
He's actually coming over to Scotland this week, I believe, to get away. No, he's in England this week to get away from the whole Epstein controversy.
They need to squash that, because if that comes out, everyone is fucked.
So the way I see it is, see if all these allegations came out, right?
Yeah.
If I had evidence that I was not on that list, I would publish it.
Yeah, but if you had evidence that all your friends and counterparts are, they'd be like, you can shut up. That's why you're in charge.
You look after number one.
Yeah. Throw all of his friends under the bus, but then he would be like, they would just use that as a, well, you were friends with that guy. You know what I mean? It's like Tom Hanks and Bill Gates. Sure. You know what I mean? They're just like, nope, you guys are friends. You're guilty by association.
Correct. And then, so he's came over to England to get away from all that. And the castle, Windsor Castle that he's staying at, I'm not sure if your media will show you this, but some guy's got a projector and he's beamed the photo of Trump and Epstein onto the castle where Trump's staying. No. So it's created a very funny photo.
I think that's another magic show too. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that I'm like, just fucking say it already. Like you're just dragging this out for what reason? You know what I mean? Like, but I did say why they wouldn't. I've said this a few times, and thank God it's on film now. If it does come out that anybody in any influential power, president, prime minister, doesn't matter who it is on that list, it will turn society overnight because you're like, why am I listening to you about anything? You're like, the people that are in charge are doing whatever they want. They have the money. Rules don't apply to them. And it's like, well, fuck them. It will start civil war like that.
It could flip the whole global system.
Yeah.
International relations
Yeah.
and the whole
speeding doesn't
system.
matter. You're a pedophile. You know what I mean? You're like, I'm going to do whatever I want.
Exactly.
I
So
think that at least.
it could be very dangerous, and that might be why they're withholding it. And then, interestingly, I'll go back to one of Trump's golf courses. This is quite a personal story on. So where I'm from in Galashiels and the Scottish borders, there is a guy who my mum's bridesmaid's son. He drove up to Turnberry, which is a golf course in Scotland. Trump owns it, and he sprayed painted it with Free Palestine, a lot of all these derogatory remarks about Trump, vandalised it. So he's been arrested and everything. Trump wants him tried as a terrorist in our court system. He says, you bet. He phoned the Prime Minister about him. This young guy from Galashiels.
He better be a terrorist.
Yeah, exactly. He's like,
terrible people.
This guy from Galashiels, he's a terrorist. So it's interesting. It's not terrorism whatsoever. It's vandalism.
It's vandalism at the worst. Like, I want him charged. The worst things imaginable. Yeah, he definitely exaggerates way too much, but he's so easy to mimic.
He's an interesting character, Trump. Smart man, very smart man.
I can see why people hate him, but at the same time, I can see why people like him.
Yeah.
So I'm not like anti, I'm not pro.
Some of his policies.
I'm more pro than I was Biden, Kamala Harris. I mean, that just seemed like a disaster waiting to happen. It sounded like somebody else was really controlling. Like, if anything, that showed that there's something controlled behind the scenes.
Kamala was too disliked to ever actually win that election. However, what was the alternative?
They should have kept Tulsi Gabbard.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
And now she's on Trump's team, which is like, I did a small little into her, like in research into her. I'm like, what the hell wouldn't you pick her? Oh, because she didn't seem like easily bought. She didn't seem like, you know what I mean? Like she'll be kicked out of Trump's, she's in charge of the CIA or something like that.
That's right.
I don't think you don't hear much about her because he doesn't fuck around with her. You know what I mean? He's like, I need people that are legitimate around me so then I seem more legitimate. And they're like, we're just not going to bother her. Like she's good. You know what I mean?
But not pulling Biden quicker. You could tell the guy's
dementia.
Yeah. He was an okay politician. He's done very well. He did well under the Obama administration.
What was the shit with him in Ukraine and his son? And why would they pardon you back to 2014? That's very odd. That's a very specific date.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, to be honest. That was odd.
You know what I mean? And then there had something to do with Ukraine, which people dug up, and you're like, then that gave less legitimacy to what was going on, and then people are fixated on that.
See, the pardon thing to us is also completely...
Why would you pardon somebody who didn't do anything?
Yeah, but also the whole concept of pardoning someone for a crime, that's not really a thing in the UK. Like our prime ministers, they can't pardon people.
Huh.
Like if you've done a crime, you've done a crime.
Yeah.
And you're going to be held accountable for that.
I just kind of create a new thing, I guess, in ours. There's been so many money laundering things in our politics that you're you just kind of lose track, and you're and then you can't they're so convoluted, right?
It just sets a precedent that, these people in the higher classes or white collar, they can do what they want and we'll just pardon them. It's a very dangerous precedent.
Sometimes not even white collar. Sometimes it's just nobody's.
Exactly.
If it's a PR thing, we're people like me for this.
Everyone should be treated exactly the same.
Yeah,
regardless.
No. That if you wanted to see exactly the difference, how society worked, COVID, if you paid attention during that, if you were a major sports team, rules didn't apply to you. You're still going in for dinners. You're still hanging out in groups. entertaining, right? And what's that Greek saying? Keep them busy with sport and bread, or you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, keep them busy with that, and they don't worry about anything else. That's exactly what happened. Oh, you get a special treat because you were good nurses. You're gonna go watch a hockey game because right now it's a little bit better. Like there's so much horse shit. I got so jaded after that, and I know I reference it way too much, but it was you just literally watched a different version of Walking Dead instead of zombies. It was just a fucking invisible thing that happened.
Yeah.
A lot of money got printed, a lot of horse shit started, and people didn't even realize that more money was printed than the last I don't know how many years.
And then inflation goes up as a result.
What?
And then it's just it's a snowball effect.
But nobody understands any of that. We don't get taught that. We're talking about the differences on like schooling and stuff. Maybe if you took advanced classes, I mean, I'm not really a good one for that. I was like a trades kid, right? I was like pretty, like it might seem that I have some sort of intelligence with what's going on now, but I was not like that in high school. It just wasn't. I was in the class I was in, I literally had a guidance counselor come into our shop class and be like, if you don't go to university, you're not going to make any money, not go anywhere. Meanwhile, I work with fucking laborers and carpenter. Labor, you can make $130,000 a year here. A carpenter, you're $145,000. That's working every day. And then when you retire, you get roughly a $4,000 to $5,000 a month pension.
I think we need to break the stigma that you need to go to university to
bugs
succeed.
the piss out of me.
Like,
because some people can't. Everybody works in the trade. Not everybody. Most people work in the trades. They're just not school people.
And that being said, just because you're academically smart doesn't mean that you're better than anyone else.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I can quote 1,000 theories on international relations, but could I go and do what some other guys do? Probably not. So it's all about agency. You don't need to go to university to succeed in life. I work with trade guys every day in my job just now while I'm at university, and the amount of money that they make is crazy compared to what we make. So.
Yeah, I mean, you get different experiences, like you said. What you're kind of going into, which we haven't really segued that. We can do that after this part of it, but yeah, there's a lot of different things out there, and a big advocacy of trade stuff was Charlie Kirk. I pissed a lot of college kids off. I watched a lot of content on him, a lot like the Oxford and the Cambridge stuff.
Yep.
I can't see why people painted him with. I can't see why someone shot him. I really can't. Like. And maybe you can see stuff more, but I was looking at it of like, okay, break down what he's saying, right? I'm not a religious person. The abortion thing, do what you want. I mean, you got to live with that consequences. I get the religious part. You shouldn't kill something. It shouldn't be used as a contraceptive or whatever you want to say it. I mean, there's some, but like that's our biggest issue right now. No, I'm sure there's lots of other stuff there. He wasn't pro illegal immigration. He didn't say he wasn't against immigration. He just said illegal, which is fine. Which is
fair enough, in my opinion.
Right.
There's a lot of things Charlie Kirk stood for that I just can't align myself with. However, I did like how he had debates. Open debate is the best way to understand another person's point of view.
Freedom of speech advocate.
Exactly. Like,
sure,
I will have different views on you regarding a range of topics. However, if the quote that I like to think is that if we're talking, we're not fighting.
Yeah.
So to solve a conflict, just talk it out.
Yeah.
A good analogy would be in Geneva when I was there doing some work with the United Nations in their main like debate room. If you look at the roof, they've got like an artwork piece from an artist from Mallorca, and the symbolism behind it is from every direction you look, whatever seat you're sitting in, it's a different perspective to the roof, so you're seeing it differently. So to understand other people's points of views, you need to be able to sit in their seat and look at the roof.
Yep.
If you get what I'm saying, you need to understand why they're coming to their conclusions, but also keep an open mind to change your conclusion to maybe compromise with theirs.
I think I'm very open on that for a lot of things because I want to learn stuff. Hence why I was like, oh my God, can you please come do this podcast? Because right off the bat, like we're on an hour and 40 minutes and I'm like the whole time it's just like boom, 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 boom stuff. Like my mind's very stimulated. I get what you're saying in the sense where it's like somebody that needed to have an abortion. You're like, I have a problem with them because I need to have an abortion. I get that. I'm black. And it's like, we've had, this and differences with white people around me and you're not black. So how do you know? I get that. I'm an illegal immigrant. But I mean, at least the message that I picked up off of him is let's have a conversation about it. Let's try to make some middle ground. And everyone's equal in God's eyes, which I'm not even religious. And I was like, okay, that's a fair statement. I literally watched him have a full conversation with a guy that was black and be like, I don't care if you're black, you can do the same things I can do. And it pisses them off because they're like, well, that's not true because you're not black. But then
I think there's equality in the sense that Charlie Kirk says everyone's equal.
Like a message.
God.
Yeah.
Equality in circumstance or in opportunity is a bit different. So yeah, there is agency behind that as well.
I would agree with that. Like I couldn't go to certain schools. I couldn't have certain job opportunities because maybe I'm not in a certain family, but like politically, I mean, because I'm not in a certain
like class.
Class, right?
So that's classism, yeah.
Yeah, classism. I'm like, that's a thing. I see that too. But at least if somebody's getting up there and at least starting that conversation to say that that's not a thing, and if people just kept buying into that and like it became a thing, like just keep repeating something that's incorrect and eventually people will believe it. I think like that was kind of maybe his angle on it. I mean, I'm interpreting it on my own and he's very aggressive about it. And I did watch all of the Cambridge and stuff like that. And you made a comment before we talked that he wasn't right about everything, which is true because I can see how like you're taught things like this is what's going on in school or whatever. But because he brings the religious aspect into it too, you're kind of like, it's like apples and oranges kind of to a point, right? Where they're debating when life starts. So I saw the point. You had sex and then something's starting. So in their mind, something's being created. So that's when life starts. And then there's a technicality. You're like, well, it doesn't have a heartbeat or it doesn't have a fucking pulse or it doesn't have blah, 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 blah. To a religious person, as soon as something starts being made, that's when they constitute it being a life form. So I'm like, I see both sides. Or there's a factual one, and then there's like a faith-based kind of factual one. You're like, something's happening, right? It doesn't just appear.
You can definitely see both arguments between pro-life and pro-abortion.
I don't have to choose that. So I mean, to be quite honest, do what you want. You got to live with that shit, not me.
See, that's the thing. Like, I have my personal viewpoints on what I would do in that situation.
Yeah,
comes down to realism. Why should I be allowed to tell someone else what they should be able to do in their lives? So if you want to go and get an abortion, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. It's your life. Do what you want.
Yeah, you kind of got to live with it yourself. And I'm like, again, like that's our biggest one, or the transgender thing. I'm like that again. That's our biggest issue. I'm like, can you go to schools and work and all that stuff the same as us? Yeah, sure. If you can go to healthcare, sure. I really don't dig into that. And then like we have friends that are not transgender, but like part of the gay community or whatever. Best people we know, best friends. You know what I mean? I don't care how somebody lives their life. I really don't.
And that's the thing. Like everyone is different, and that's the beauty of society is that everyone can walk different paths of life. But I think we have a responsibility to look after each other. And why should my actions hinder someone else? Like, why would I go out my way to hurt someone else for no reason whatsoever? Just because I believe that, oh, you're sleeping with another man, that's bad. Well, it's not. Like, who cares?
He even said that too. He's like, I don't agree with your life choices, but I don't hate you because of it. You know what I mean? Like, so he did preference stuff. I think the defense with him is I think he got clipped a lot, which you can clip the living fuck out of this podcast for 2 hours and make me look terrible easily. But I mean, like, I know where I'm at. I'm pretty transparent. I'm transparent with your parents when I meet them to my parents when they were alive. I don't change my personality. I'll be more curt about, my swearing or something like that. But my personal views on things, I'm like, I'm pretty transparent all the time about how I feel and think.
I'm quite upfront with, if I have an opinion on something, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the exact same.
But you're also reserved though too, right? So you kind of like, because correct me if I'm wrong, when you talk, like you don't really talk about politics with everybody because people are really like, this is how it is. And you're like, no, it's not.
So I need to be careful what I say most of the time, purely because if I'm looking to get anywhere with my degrees, I need to be able to like say, oh, if I had a radical view and it came out, then that's politics career over.
Yeah.
So you need to be kind of more reserved. I take a bit more time to think about responses,
like a lawyer,
before I tell them. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to talk about or dive into or whatever? Like I keep them around 2 hours, but again, all I have to do if you want to go longer, I just have to download, or we can take a break.
There's one topic that I'd like to talk about was the Scottish influence on Canadian culture.
Yeah.
As well. So
yeah.
That's one heavy thing that we get taught about the British Empire is the Scottish influence on the world.
It's very big. I've got my grandfather's World War II war bag right up there with all of his gear in it, and he was part of the Essex and Kent, which was I was told that that's an English, but that was the Scottish regiment that he was part of. So everybody that was from Scottish immigration was part of that, to my understanding. And then World War II photo up there, or World War I, was right above the sign.
Oh, right. Yes, I see. Yeah.
It's 3 of them put together. So that was his father's regiment.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So it was World War I veteran, World War II veterans.
So, Scotland's had a massive influence on the world. Behind the Greeks, I would argue, in my view, we have basically shaped the modern day. So telephones, penicillin, even like when you flush a toilet, the wee U-bend behind the toilet to stop the smell coming up.
Yeah.
That was us.
Okay.
The TV. The very first Canadian Prime Minister was Scottish.
Oh, shit.
And then obviously Alexander Graham Bell and everything, the telephone. But a lot of influence on other countries through the empire. That's kind of what we get taught in school, is the positives of the empire rather than the atrocities that...
They just weren't kind of dicks about it because it was like a reserved way of doing it, because I was kind of taught that a little bit here, like the Scottish infantry was very effective in World War II, but that's obviously not a Hollywood movie about it. Mm-hmm. I think because they'd have a hard time understanding them.
Yeah, maybe. But like even everywhere we go in Canada or the States or anywhere I go abroad and I meet Americans or Canadians, they're always like, oh yeah, we've got Scottish heritage.
Or Irish. Those are like the two ones people say all the time.
I'll let you in on a wee secret. We hate it.
I know. It's funny with being friends with Tony's for so long, and he's just such a magnet for people. They do. Oh, I'm Scottish or Irish, and it's like, I know you're dying to be like, what part?
Yeah, like honestly, we hate it.
100% to relate.
Yeah, like when someone comes up to me and say, "Oh yeah, I'm Scottish," it's like, "All right, where are you from?" It's like, "Oh, Alberta." I was like, "Well, you're not Scottish then. You're Canadian. Be proud to be Canadian."
Yeah.
Yes, you can be proud of where you come from, but fundamentally, you are not Scottish. You have Scottish heritage.
Yes. I try my best to specify that, because I've noticed that. I'm like, I have no problem saying I'm Canadian, period. So I kind of get pissy when, say, new Canadians come here and they're like, if there's any reference to like, oh, this place is so great or back home was better, I'm like, go fucking there then. Like, you know what I mean? If it's so like, you're here for a reason, like.
Yeah, you should be proud to be Canadian. You should be proud to be American. But I
don't think we're proud enough, to be honest with you here.
Yeah, I'd say so. Even in Scotland, we are a very proud nation. We have a lot of culture, especially on our civic weeks, which are like when we celebrate our towns. We have pipe bands, so bagpipes playing, drums playing, we have fancy dress, and the whole community comes together. And it's like
those are the Celtic games too?
Yeah, you've got Highland Games.
Highland Games, that's not Celtic. Yeah, Highland,
I've played at 2 of those this year. We did Creef, which is the oldest Highland Games in the whole world, and we did Alva, which is a wee village. Wee means little. Mm-hmm. A wee village over by Stirling, just at the bottom of the Miat, which is a hill. But it's our culture's so rich. So when we go abroad and people try and relate to that, it kind of makes you proud. Like,
diminishes it a bit.
No, it's like it kind of makes you proud. It's like, oh, everyone wants to be Scottish. Like, we're amazing. Everyone wants to be us.
I think because the Irish got that with St. Patrick's Day, where everyone's a little bit Irish that day, and you're like, okay, that day, but not the next day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does get tedious, but
If they got a Mick in their name, you're like, yeah, I'm Irish. You're like, you don't know fucking anything about the place other than someone had red hair in your family. Like, just the most stereotypical things, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. And people think that we kick about wearing kilts the whole time, but we don't. Like, we're just normal people. Yeah, we wear kilts on special occasions, but not really. in
I
the day-to-day.
know Scotland, like what I know about Scotland is you have the best business schools in the world. Like if you go,
Yep. So Lucy, my girlfriend, she's got a business degree out of the University of Glasgow, one of the most prestigious universities in the whole world for business management.
as she said, the one that looks like Hogwarts.
The one that looks like Hogwarts. Yeah. It's a beautiful building. It was built using slave trade money, so it's not the greatest.
There's
Sorry,
probably
man.
not much you can. I mean, all of our smartphones are on slave trade, so
True. So
whatever.
it's a beautiful building.
It's not the best, but it's still an iPhone 16.
When
so.
you're over in May, I'll take some time off work and we'll show you around.
Cool.
And
I honestly want to get some good photography. Like that's what I'm
mate.
super.
I can show you some spots.
Yeah, I would like to do that.
There's a place called Scott's View. So Walter Scott, famous poet, he used to live, or so he's dead now. He lived in Abbotsford House, which is about a 5-minute walk from my house. And he had this thing called Scott's View. We would go up and he'd just sit and look at the view. It's one of the most beautiful places in the whole world. So we'll take you there. That's pretty cool.
Cool, man. Thanks a lot for coming. I appreciate this. This is huge. Hopefully somebody gets something out of this and people watch it, and I appreciate it, man.
No problem whatsoever, buddy.
I'll put some tags in if you want people to follow you and stuff like that later.
Yeah,
But
it's mostly just bagpipe and stuff.
okay, we'll talk more about that again. Maybe we can figure out how to do this when I'm in Scotland. That'd be pretty cool to do a podcast there. I've got mobile stuff for that. So
yeah, definitely. I can show you some stuff.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
No problem whatsoever.
Sorry to cut it at 2 hours.
You're quite all right, buddy.
That time you figure?
Oh yeah, that went quite quick, huh?
It does go quick, especially when you have somebody that can conversate. And that's the